Back in there. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I want you to ask yourself a question right now. If you had to rely on the largesse or the benevolence of your customers on a daily basis as the means to pay your bills and have a livable income, would you be able to do so? I don't think I could, so it's a good thing that I make a livable salary. Today I'm addressing an issue which, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in May of 2015, affects over 2.5 million workers in America. I'm talking about tipped employees such as waiters and waitresses across America, many of whom are struggling on a daily basis to have a livable income. My own daughter tried to make a living at waitressing, and she faced numerous issues ranging from having to pay out certain percentages each shift to other non-server co-workers, all the way to having to pay her own dry cleaning bills for aprons and uniforms. Despite the fact that tipped employees, those who regularly earn more than $30 a month, have not seen a pay raise mandated by the federal government in over 25 years, many people nowadays choose to withhold their tips for servers for a multitude of reasons, many beyond the server's control. I will outline the need for change, my thoughts regarding a solution, and how we can all benefit from the change. Let's start with why we need to change. According to the Economic Policy Institute, a nonpartisan think tank, in a published report by Allegretto and Cooper in 2014, the federal tipped minimum wage has remained at $2.13 an hour since 1991, a span of 25 years. Here in Texas and 18 other states, employers are expected to make up any necessary difference after tips to bring the minimum salary for their staff up to the minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. You and I, as consumers, are expected to subsidize about 70% of server salaries through tipping instead of the business owners. In addition to a wage less than 30% of the standard minimum, this disparity doesn't even cover the fact that most restaurants require waitstaff to share a portion of their tips with other non-server staff. In an online article from August 24th, 2015, at theodysseyonline.com, Gigi Moody explains the figure is generally based on a sales percentage and not tips received. So regardless of the tip amount, the server still has to fulfill their obligations to the other co-workers. Enforcement of business owners to make up the difference in wages for employees is difficult at best, and therefore many of America's wait staff are receiving less than minimum wage for a job they normally work at just as hard or harder than you and I do. Americans are choosing not to tip regardless of service quality. This is resulting in more employers barely receiving the minimum wage, and women especially are impacted as they make up 72% of the workers in this field, according to a 2014 White House report. The White House report also stated workers in these tipped occupations are twice as likely as other workers to experience poverty, and servers are almost 3 times as likely to be in poverty. If the tipped minimum wage were raised, women in this field could make progress away from poverty. Many of these women are single parents, and this could help improve the child poverty situation as well. Now let's talk about solutions. There are at least 2 solutions to this problem. First, we could change the mindset of Americans who feel that they should not be subsidizing tipped employees' wages. Money Magazine Online at time.com discusses the fairly recent phenomenon of tipping hotel housekeepers in an article by Brad Tuttle from September of 2014. Standard minimum wages are already earned by these people. On the other hand, waiters and waitresses are not paid the federal standard minimum wage. Diners should take this into account and tip an appropriate amount. If you take up a table for an hour, leave enough tip to cover a regular hourly wage, regardless of the check amount. Changing mindsets is not the easiest thing to do. When twice as many workers from one industry sector live in poverty as the other, it would seem to make it more sense to level the playing field through labor laws. Brad Tuttle quoted the Times' Pete Wells, who summed up our tipping system as such: "It is irrational, outdated, ineffective, confusing, prone to abuse, and sometimes discriminatory. The people who take care of us in restaurants deserve better than this." And in a June 29, 2014 National Public Radio interview, then Secretary of Labor Thomas Perez stated, "We're not going to give up because this is really an issue of fundamental fairness," while talking about a Senate bill to increase both the federal minimum wage and the tipped wage. It was struck down in legislation in April of 2014. So those are a couple of solutions. Let's visualize how that would happen. Potentially removing millions of Americans from poverty rolls should make us want to see wages raised for the tipped workers here in America. Providing relief from stressful monetary situations helps employees and customers are removed from what many see as an unnecessary cost. Allowing Americans to stop having to rely on government subsidies will ease the burden on welfare offices, resulting in savings for everyone. We all function better without the threat of knowing when our next meal will be, or keeping a family sheltered. Some restaurants have already replaced that tipped wage policy with straight pay. Customers at one California business no longer tip. In the NPR interview from 2014, Brand 158 owner Gabriel Frem tells us the philosophy works for his bottom line as well as for his employees and customers. It gives his staff stability, which in turn means he isn't spending money on a weekly basis training new employees, and the employees know what their paycheck will be each time. Customers know what their bill will be. There's no surprises for anyone, and there's less stress for all. So now that we've visualized it, let's do it. The next time you dine out, think about the person bringing you your drinks, your food, serving you so you don't have to do it all yourself. No cooking, no dishes to clean. It's a nice feeling, isn't it? So unless there's something terribly wrong with your service, do the right thing and tip your server an appropriate amount. Stay informed. Support your legislators who are willing to stand up to the restaurant industry lobbyists and demand change and increase wages for tipped employees. And in conclusion, support your fellow Americans in their efforts to live the American dream and take action to end the disparity, or do your part and tip accordingly. Thank you.